along the banks of the mighty Nile River. In northeastern Africa, one of the greatest civilizations in human history emerged, ancient Egypt. This civilization flourished over thousands of years, shaped by the life-giving waters of the Nile. The river was not just a source of water but the very heartbeat of Egyptian society. Each year, its predictable floods deposited fertile silt along the riverbanks, turning an otherwise harsh desert landscape into lush farmland. The people of ancient Egypt learned to live in harmony with the rhythms of the Nile. They built their villages and farms along its shores, relying heavily on agriculture to sustain their population. Crops such as wheat, barley, and flax grew abundantly, while the Nile provided fish and transportation. This agricultural abundance formed the backbone of Egypt's prosperity and stability. Craftsmanship flourished alongside farming. Skilled artisans crafted pottery, wove linen textiles, and created exquisite jewelry from gold, silver, and precious stones. Papyrus, a plant that grew along the Nile, was transformed into sheets of writing material, enabling Egyptians to record history, religion, and literature. The development of writing was a milestone that allowed for complex administration and the preservation of knowledge. Daily life for the average Egyptian was centered around family and work. Most lived in mud brick houses with flat roofs, where multiple generations shared space and responsibilities. Cleanliness and personal hygiene were important. Egyptians bathed regularly in the Nile and used natural oils and perfumes to maintain their health and appearance. Clothing was simple yet elegant, usually made from lightweight linen that suited the hot climate. Men typically wore kilts or skirts tied at the waist, while women wore long, fitted dresses. Both sexes adorned themselves with jewelry and makeup, famously using kohl eyeliner not only for beauty but also to protect their eyes from the harsh sun and infections. Religion permeated every aspect of life. Ancient Egyptians worshipped many gods and goddesses, each embodying forces of nature or aspects of life and death. The sun god Ra was central, symbolizing creation and renewal, while Osiris ruled the afterlife, promising eternal life to those deemed worthy. Temples, rituals, and festivals formed a vibrant tapestry of spiritual practice, connecting the people to the divine. Stories and myths explained the origins of the universe, the cycles of nature, and the destiny of souls. These tales were passed down orally and inscribed on temple walls and tombs, illustrating a worldview where balance and order, known as Ma'at, were paramount. The concept of Ma'at guided both individual conduct and the governance of the kingdom. Ancient Egyptian society was organized in a strict hierarchy, with Pharaoh at its apex. The Pharaoh was more than a king, he was considered a living god, the earthly embodiment of divine authority. This sacred status gave him absolute power over the land and its people, as well as the responsibility to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order. Beneath the pharaoh were the nobles, priests, and officials who administered the kingdom. Nobles often owned large estates and enjoyed privileges like tax exemption and access to education. Priests played a crucial role in society, conducting rituals, maintaining temples, and serving as intermediaries between the gods and the people. Common people made up the largest segment of the population. Farmers, craftsmen, laborers, and soldiers formed the backbone of Egypt's economy and military strength. Farmers worked the fertile lands, producing the food surplus necessary for cities to grow and for other professions to thrive. Craftsmen specialized in pottery, metalwork, woodworking, and weaving, creating goods both for daily use and ceremonial purposes. Trade was vital to Egypt's prosperity. Merchants traveled across deserts and seas, exchanging goods like gold, ivory, incense, and exotic animals with neighboring regions such as Nubia, Libya, and the Near East. This commerce introduced new ideas, technologies, and cultural influences that enriched Egyptian civilization. Education was highly valued, especially for those destined to serve in government or religious roles. Boys from elite families attended schools where they learned to read and write hieroglyphics, study mathematics, and memorize religious texts. Literacy was a prized skill that opened doors to prestigious careers and social advancement. Daily life among commoners. though often centered on hard work, also included moments of leisure and celebration. Music and dance were integral parts of religious festivals and private gatherings. Instruments such as the harp, lute, flute, and drums provided rhythm and melody to entertain and honor the gods. Sporting activities also held a place in Egyptian culture. Wrestling, archery, and board games like Senet were popular pastimes that encouraged both physical fitness and mental agility. These games often carried symbolic meanings related to the eternal struggle between order and chaos. Egyptian art was deeply symbolic and adhered to strict conventions. Artists portrayed humans with heads and legs in profile but torsos facing forward, emphasizing clarity and balance. Colors were chosen for their spiritual significance: green for fertility, red for life and victory, and gold for divinity and eternity. The monumental architecture of ancient Egypt remains one of its most enduring legacies. The pyramids, temples, and tombs were feats of engineering and artistic expression. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, was the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3.800 years. These grand constructions symbolized the pharaoh's power and served as portals to the afterlife. Alongside these architectural marvels, Egyptian science and medicine advanced significantly. Physicians applied knowledge of anatomy and herbal remedies to treat injuries and illnesses. They performed surgeries and understood the importance of cleanliness and hygiene to prevent infection. Astronomy was closely linked to religion and agriculture. Egyptian priests observed the stars and planets to create calendars that regulated farming activities and religious festivals. Their understanding of celestial cycles helped predict the annual Nile floods, crucial for successful harvests. One of the most remarkable achievements of ancient Egypt was its sophisticated system of irrigation and water management. The Egyptians developed an intricate network of canals, dikes, and reservoirs to control the Nile's flooding and distribute water across their fields. This system allowed them to maximize agricultural output, transforming vast desert regions into fertile farmland. The annual flooding of the Nile, known as the inundation, was both a blessing and a challenge. Each year, the river would swell, flooding the surrounding lands and depositing nutrient-rich silt that rejuvenated the soil. This natural cycle was essential for crop growth but required careful management to prevent destructive overflows. Egyptians divided the year into three main seasons based on the Nile's behavior: Akhet, flooding season; Pere, growing season; and Shemu, harvest season. During Akhet, farmers prepared their fields and repaired irrigation canals. In Pere, they sowed seeds and tended to crops. Finally, during Shemu, they harvested the fruits of their labor, storing surplus grain to sustain the population during the dry months. This cyclical pattern shaped not only agriculture but also the religious and social calendars. Many festivals and rituals coincided with the Nile's phases, celebrating the god's role in sustaining life. For example, the Opet festival honored Amun, the king of the gods, reinforcing the pharaoh's divine connection and the renewal of Ma'a. Egypt's cities flourished as centers of administration, commerce, and culture. Memphis, founded around 3100 BCE, served as the capital during the Old Kingdom and was a hub for trade and politics. Thebes, located further south along the Nile, rose to prominence during the Middle and New Kingdoms, becoming a spiritual and artistic capital with its grand temples and royal tombs. Temples such as Karnak and Luxor were architectural masterpieces, built to honor the gods and serve as places of worship and pilgrimage. These complexes were decorated with towering columns, detailed reliefs, and massive statues, each symbolizing religious stories and royal achievements. Pharaohs like Ramses II, often called Ramses the Great, left a lasting legacy through their military campaigns and monumental building projects. Ramses II expanded Egypt's borders, securing trade routes and establishing peace with neighboring powers like the Hittites. His reign, which lasted over 6 decades, was marked by stability and prosperity. The afterlife held tremendous importance in Egyptian belief, shaping burial customs and funerary art. Egyptians believed that death was not the end but a transition to another existence. To ensure a successful journey, elaborate tombs were constructed, stocked with food, treasures, and spells from the Book of the Dead. Mummification was a sacred process designed to preserve the body for the soul's return. Skilled embalmers removed internal organs, treated the body with resins and linens, and placed it in decorated coffins. This ritual reflected the deep desire for immortality and respect for ancestors. In addition to grand royal tombs, many nobles and wealthy individuals built smaller yet intricate burial sites. These tombs featured painted walls depicting scenes of daily life, religious ceremonies, and symbolic imagery to guide and protect the deceased in the afterlife. Despite their reverence for tradition, the Egyptians were also innovators. They adopted and adapted technologies and ideas from neighboring cultures, blending them into their own unique civilization. This openness helped Egypt remain vibrant and influential for millennia. Ancient Egypt's influence extended beyond its own borders, impacting neighboring regions culturally, economically, and politically. Through trade, conquest, and diplomacy, Egyptian ideas and goods spread into Nubia to the south, the Levant to the northeast, and even further into the Mediterranean world. Nubia, rich in gold and other resources, was both a trade partner and occasional rival. Egyptians established forts and trading posts along the Nile's southern stretches to secure valuable commodities like gold, ebony, ivory, and incense. At times, Nubian rulers would adopt Egyptian customs, religion, and art, demonstrating the deep cultural exchanges between these two civilizations. In the Levant, Egypt's strategic location made it a crossroads of commerce and culture. Egyptian traders and officials interacted with Canaanite city-states, exchanging goods such as timber, copper, and luxury items. These interactions facilitated the flow of technology, including advancements in metallurgy and writing. Egypt's military expeditions sometimes extended into foreign lands, aiming to secure borders, protect trade routes, and demonstrate the pharaoh's might. The New Kingdom period, roughly spanning from 1550 to 1070 BCE, was marked by aggressive expansion under rulers like Thutmose III and Ramses II. During this era, Egypt reached its territorial peak, controlling parts of Syria, Palestine, and Nubia. The military was well organized, equipped with chariots, bows, and infantry forces. Campaigns were chronicled on temple walls and monuments, immortalizing Pharaoh's victories and divine favor. Religion played a significant role in uniting the people and legitimizing rulers. The pantheon of Egyptian gods was vast, each deity representing different aspects of life and nature. Osiris, god of the afterlife; Isis, goddess of magic and motherhood; Horus, the falcon-headed protector; and Anubis, guardian of the dead, were among the most revered. Temples were not only religious centers but also economic hubs. They controlled vast lands, employed numerous workers, and managed resources. Priests performed daily rituals, festivals, and maintained sacred knowledge that was carefully passed down through generations. Art and literature flourished during times of stability. Papyrus scrolls contained stories, hymns, medical texts, and wisdom literature. The instruction of Ptahhotep, for instance, offered ethical guidance and practical advice, reflecting the values of order, respect, and responsibility. Music and dance were integral to both religious ceremonies and everyday entertainment. Instruments such as harps, flutes, and percussion provided rhythm and mood, while dancers performed to honor gods or celebrate special occasions. Despite their achievements, ancient Egypt faced periods of decline and foreign domination. The late period saw invasions by Libyans, Nubians, Assyrians, and eventually Persians. Each conqueror brought changes but also preserved much of Egypt's culture and traditions. The final chapter of ancient Egypt came with the conquest by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE, introducing Hellenistic influences and eventually leading to Roman rule. Yet, the legacy of ancient Egypt endured, inspiring countless generations with its remarkable history, art, and spirituality. One of the most iconic symbols of ancient Egypt is its monumental architecture. Especially the pyramids. These incredible structures were built as tombs for the pharaohs and stood as eternal monuments to their divine power. The pyramid shape itself symbolized the rays of the sun, connecting the deceased pharaoh with the sun god Ra in the heavens. The most famous pyramids are located at Giza, just outside modern-day Cairo. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, also known as Cheops, is the largest and most precisely constructed. Built around 2560 BCE, it originally stood about 146 meters tall, made from millions of limestone blocks. Its construction remains a marvel of ancient engineering, with theories ranging from massive labor forces to ingenious ramp systems. Alongside the pyramids are the Great Sphinx, a massive limestone statue with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh. Believed to represent Pharaoh Khafra, the Sphinx guards the Giza Plateau and symbolizes strength, wisdom, and royal power. Inside the pyramids and surrounding tombs, intricate burial chambers were filled with treasures, inscriptions, and protective spells. These goods were intended to provide for the pharaoh's needs in the afterlife, ensuring a comfortable existence beyond death. The Valley of the Kings, located near Thebes, became the royal burial site during the New Kingdom. Pharaohs chose hidden tombs carved deep into the rock to protect their remains and possessions from tomb robbers. The tomb of Tutankhamun, discovered almost intact in 1922, revealed a wealth of artifacts and has captivated the world's imagination ever since. Temples were equally impressive, built to honor the gods and serve as centers for religious worship and administration. These structures often featured massive pylons, grand hypostyle halls filled with towering columns, and open courtyards where festivals and ceremonies took place. The Temple of Karnak in Thebes is one of the largest religious complexes ever constructed. Dedicated primarily to the god Amun, it was developed over centuries, with each pharaoh adding their own contributions. The walls and columns are covered with detailed hieroglyphics depicting myths, royal accomplishments, and prayers. Religion and governance were deeply intertwined, with pharaohs often portrayed as divine rulers chosen by the gods. This fusion of power gave legitimacy to their rule and inspired loyalty among their subjects. Egyptian society was also marked by a rich cultural life. Literature ranged from practical texts like farming manuals and medical guides to poetic and philosophical works. The Egyptians composed hymns, love songs, and wisdom literature that explored themes of morality, justice, and human experience. Artistic expression was highly symbolic, serving religious and social purposes. Statues, paintings, and jewelry all conveyed messages about identity, status, and spirituality. Colors and shapes followed strict conventions, creating a distinct and recognizable aesthetic. Everyday life was filled with rituals and customs that reinforced social bonds and religious beliefs. Festivals celebrated the cycles of nature, agricultural bounty, and the gods' blessings. Family life was central, with strong emphasis on respect for elders and ancestors. Education and knowledge were prized, especially for scribes who played a crucial role in record-keeping and administration. These individuals underwent rigorous training to master hieroglyphics, mathematics, and legal matters, ensuring the smooth functioning of the state. The role of women in ancient Egypt was notably different from many other ancient societies. Women enjoyed a relatively high status and could own property, initiate divorce, and engage in business transactions. While society was patriarchal, women could hold influential positions, especially within the royal family and priesthood. Queens like Hatshepsut broke traditional molds by ruling as pharaoh in their own right. Hatshepsut's reign during the 18th dynasty was marked by peace, prosperity, and monumental building projects. She commissioned magnificent temples, including her famous mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, which showcased stunning reliefs of her divine birth and peaceful reign. Marriage and family life were central to Egyptian culture. Couples often married young and were expected to raise children who would continue family traditions and care for their parents in old age. The ideal family was loving and supportive, with shared responsibilities. Children were cherished and educated according to their social class. Boys from elite families might attend formal schools to become scribes or officials. while girls were typically taught household skills by their mothers. Play and storytelling were important for childhood, fostering imagination and cultural knowledge. Religion profoundly shaped daily routines, from prayers and offerings to the gods, to observances of purity and cleanliness. Egyptians believed that maintaining harmony with the divine was essential for personal and societal well-being. Rituals were performed not only in grand temples but also in household shrines. Magic and superstition were integral to Egyptian spirituality. Amulets, charms, and spells were used to protect individuals from harm and attract good fortune. Priests were skilled in the use of magical texts, which blended religion, medicine, and magic into a holistic practice. The Egyptian calendar was based on lunar and solar cycles, reflecting the importance of celestial events. Festivals often aligned with key astronomical phenomena such as the heliacal rising of the star Sirius, which heralded the annual Nile flood and new agricultural year. The arts of music, dance, and poetry were highly developed and intertwined with religious worship and social life. Musicians and dancers performed at banquets, religious ceremonies, and public festivals, providing entertainment and honoring the gods. Ancient Egyptian language itself was complex, with hieroglyphics used for monumental inscriptions and religious texts, hieratic script for daily writing, and later Demotic script for administrative purposes. This linguistic richness reflects the depth and diversity of Egyptian culture. Despite thousands of years and many changes, the core values of ancient Egypt, order, harmony, respect for the divine, and the importance of community, remained constant. These ideals continue to fascinate modern audiences, offering a window into a civilization that laid foundations for many aspects of human culture. Ancient Egyptian medicine was surprisingly advanced for its time. Physicians practiced a combination of practical treatments, spiritual healing, and herbal remedies. Medical papyri, such as the Ebers Papyrus and Edwin Smith Papyrus, provide detailed information on diagnoses, surgical techniques, and prescriptions. Doctors specialized in areas such as dentistry, ophthalmology, and even dermatology. They used a variety of natural substances, including honey for its antibacterial properties, willow bark as a pain reliever, and various plants and minerals for treating wounds and illnesses. Surgical procedures included setting broken bones, stitching wounds, and even rudimentary forms of dentistry. Egyptian physicians understood the importance of cleanliness and often used antiseptics like moldy bread to prevent infections. Healing was closely linked to religion and magic. Priests would perform rituals and incantations alongside physical treatments, believing that illness could be caused by evil spirits or divine punishment. Amulets and charms were worn to protect patients during recovery. Public health measures were also important in Egyptian cities. The design of homes, the use of latrines, and the management of water sources helped reduce the spread of disease. Bathing and personal hygiene were emphasized, both for health and ritual purity. Ancient Egyptians were also pioneers in astronomy. They carefully observed the night sky and recorded celestial events, using their knowledge to develop calendars that regulated agriculture and religious festivals. The heliacal rising of Sirius was particularly significant, signaling the start of the Nile's flood. Their understanding of astronomy helped Egyptians align their temples and pyramids with celestial bodies, reflecting the importance of the cosmos in their religious worldview. This connection between earth and sky underscored the pharaoh's divine role as a mediator between gods and people. The arts flourished alongside scientific advances. Sculptors created lifelike statues that captured the essence and status of their subjects. Painters adorned tomb walls with vivid scenes of daily life, religious ceremonies, and mythological stories, preserving culture for eternity. Hieroglyphic inscriptions were both artistic and informative, often serving as magical texts to protect the deceased or celebrate a pharaoh's achievements. The careful balance between form and meaning made Egyptian art timeless and instantly recognizable. Music was performed on a variety of instruments including harps, flutes, and drums. It played an essential role in religious rituals and social gatherings, providing rhythm and mood for dance and storytelling. Musicians were respected members of society, sometimes attached to temples or courts. Education was another cornerstone of Egyptian society. Scribes were highly trained specialists who recorded laws, tax records, religious texts, and literature. Learning to read and write was a rigorous process, reserved mostly for boys from elite families. The ability to write was powerful. It allowed individuals to participate in government, religion, and commerce. Scribes enjoyed high status and often served as advisors to pharaohs and officials. Their work helped maintain the administrative efficiency of the state. In summary, ancient Egypt was a civilization of remarkable complexity and achievement. From monumental architecture and sophisticated science to rich culture and enduring religious beliefs, it created a legacy that continues to captivate and inspire the world today. Trade was a vital part of ancient Egypt's economy and cultural exchange. The Nile River served as a natural highway, facilitating the movement of goods and people up and down the country. Beyond the river, Egypt established trade networks extending into Africa, the Near East, and the Mediterranean. Luxury goods such as gold, ebony, ivory, and precious stones were highly prized and often imported from distant lands like Nubia, Punt, and Byblos. Egyptian artisans crafted exquisite jewelry, pottery, and textiles, which were traded in exchange for raw materials and exotic products. The port city of Byblos, located in present-day Lebanon, was especially important for timber trade, as Egypt's deserts lacked large forests. Egyptian ships would sail the Mediterranean coast, bringing back cedar wood essential for construction and shipbuilding. Trade expeditions to the land of Punt, believed to be located along the Red Sea coast of modern Somalia or Eritrea, brought back valuable goods like incense, myrrh, gold, and exotic animals. These journeys were perilous but essential for supplying luxury items for religious rituals and the elite. The economy was based on agriculture, craftsmanship, and trade, supported by a well-organized bureaucracy that managed taxes, labor, and resource distribution. Farmers paid a portion of their harvest as tax, which sustained the state and its large workforce. Laborers included not only farmers but also skilled craftsmen, builders, and merchants. Large-scale construction projects, such as pyramids and temples, required coordinated efforts from thousands of workers, who were often organized into teams and supervised by officials. Egyptian society was highly stratified, with the pharaoh at the top, followed by nobles, priests, scribes, artisans, and farmers. Despite this hierarchy, there was social mobility, especially for talented individuals who could rise through education or service. Religion was the glue that held society together. The concept of Ma'at, representing truth, justice, and cosmic order, was central to Egyptian belief. Pharaohs were seen as the guarantors of Ma'at, responsible for maintaining balance and harmony. Religious festivals brought communities together in celebration and devotion. These events included music, dance, feasting, and processions, often reenacting myths and honoring specific gods. The Opet festival, for example, celebrated the rejuvenation of the pharaoh's divine power. Temples served not only as places of worship but also as economic centers controlling vast estates, workshops, and storage facilities. Priests played a key role in maintaining religious practices and managing temple wealth. The arts reflected religious themes and social values. Paintings and sculptures were rich with symbolism, using color and form to convey meaning beyond the literal. For example, green symbolized fertility and rebirth, while red could signify power or chaos. The Egyptian worldview embraced both the physical and spiritual worlds as interconnected. Life on earth was preparation for the afterlife, where souls would be judged and, if worthy, enjoy eternal bliss. Through thousands of years, ancient Egypt demonstrated resilience, adapting to changing political, environmental, and social challenges while maintaining a unique identity. Its achievements in architecture, science, art, and governance remain a testament to human ingenuity and cultural richness. One of the most fascinating aspects of ancient Egyptian culture was their elaborate burial practices, designed to ensure a successful journey to the afterlife. Egyptians believed that the soul, or Ka, needed a physical body to inhabit after death, making preservation essential. Mummification was the key ritual for preserving the body. This process involved removing internal organs, drying the body with natron salts, and wrapping it meticulously in linen bandages. The heart was often left in place or replaced with a stone amulet, as it was considered the seat of intelligence and emotion. The embalming process was carried out by specialized priests, who performed prayers and rituals to protect the deceased. The Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and incantations, was often placed in the tomb to guide the soul safely through the dangers of the underworld. Tombs were richly decorated with scenes depicting the deceased's life, achievements, and the gods they hoped to encounter. These images served both as offerings and as magical protection, ensuring the soul's well-being and eternal happiness. The weighing of the heart ceremony was central to Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. The deceased's heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'a, symbolizing truth and justice. If the heart was lighter or equal in weight, the soul could proceed to the afterlife. If heavier, it was devoured by the monstrous Ammit, and the soul ceased to exist. Pharaohs and nobility built grand tombs to reflect their status and secure their immortality. The pyramids of Giza, the tombs in the Valley of the Kings, and the mastabas, flat-roofed tombs, all exemplify the importance placed on eternal life. Common people also practiced burial rituals, though on a smaller scale. Graves often included personal belongings, food offerings, and small statues called shabtis intended to serve the deceased in the afterlife. The belief in life after death influenced daily behavior and social customs. Egyptians sought to live according to Ma'a to ensure a favorable judgment and a blessed eternity. This belief system reinforced morality, social order, and respect for tradition. The influence of Egyptian funerary customs extended beyond their civilization, impacting neighboring cultures. Elements such as tomb architecture, burial goods, and religious concepts were adopted and adapted by others in the ancient world. Despite the focus on death and the afterlife, Egyptians celebrated life's joys through festivals, music, and art. Their culture balanced reverence for the divine with appreciation for beauty and pleasure. The legacy of ancient Egypt continues to inspire modern archaeology, art, and popular culture. Discoveries of tombs and artifacts have shed light on this rich civilization, revealing both its grandeur and its human dimension. Through its religion, art, science, and society, ancient Egypt left an indelible mark on history, reminding us of humanity's enduring quest for meaning, immortality, and connection to the cosmos. Ancient Egypt's political history was marked by periods of unity and division, prosperity and turmoil. The civilization's timeline is traditionally divided into three major kingdoms: the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom, punctuated by intermediate periods of instability. The Old Kingdom, circa 2686–2181 BCE, is often called the Age of the Pyramids. This era witnessed the construction of the Great Pyramids at Giza and the consolidation of Pharaoh's power. Strong centralized government and economic stability allowed large-scale projects and cultural development. Following the Old Kingdom, the First Intermediate Period brought political fragmentation and social upheaval. Regional governors, called nomarchs, gained power, and Egypt was divided into competing states. This period was characterized by decentralization and conflict. The Middle Kingdom, century 2055 to 1650 BCE, restored unity under strong rulers who emphasized administrative reform, military expansion, and cultural revival. Pharaohs such as Mentuhotep II and Senusret III focused on infrastructure, irrigation projects, and increased trade. The Second Intermediate Period saw the arrival of the Hyksos, foreign rulers who controlled northern Egypt for about a century. Their introduction of new technologies, such as the horse-drawn chariot and improved weaponry, influenced Egyptian warfare and society. The New Kingdom, century 1550 to 1070 BCE, was Egypt's golden age, marked by powerful pharaohs, territorial expansion, and monumental architecture. Famous rulers like Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and Ramses II left enduring legacies. This period saw Egypt become an empire, controlling lands in Nubia, the Levant, and beyond. The military was highly organized and equipped with advanced technology, securing trade routes and defending borders. Religious innovations also occurred during the New Kingdom. Pharaoh Akhenaten attempted to shift worship toward monotheism, focusing on the sun disk Aten. Although his religious reforms were short-lived, they remain one of the most intriguing episodes in Egyptian history. The Ramesside period, named after the many pharaohs named Ramses, was characterized by monumental building programs and cultural flourishing. Ramses II, known as Ramses the Great, constructed temples like Abu Simbel and is often regarded as Egypt's most powerful ruler. Following the New Kingdom, Egypt entered the Third Intermediate Period and later Late Period, facing foreign invasions, including Assyrians, Persians, and eventually Alexander the Great's conquest. These centuries saw a blending of cultures but also a decline in native Egyptian power. Despite political changes, Egyptian culture and religion persisted, influencing Greek and Roman civilizations. The Ptolemaic dynasty, established after Alexander's death, merged Egyptian traditions with Hellenistic culture until the Roman conquest. The ancient Egyptian civilization's remarkable endurance and adaptability through millennia demonstrate its profound influence on human history. Its achievements in governance, art, science, and spirituality continue to be studied and admired worldwide. Today, ancient Egypt captivates people across the globe, symbolizing mystery, wisdom, and the human spirit's creative power. Through the sands of time, the stories, monuments, and legacy of this extraordinary civilization remain alive.